Hello, it's Super Bowl Sunday, and of course my computer crashed while trying to start this broadcast.
Something big is spooking residents. Multiple people have claimed to see a large furry animal trudging through the woods.
They literally could see him from all the way over here. I started hearing it. It was very large, and it was running so fast.
Your source for campers in Taos County. The sheriff's office is sharing safety tips on social media to protect yourself from
Bigfoot.
I saw something out of the corner of my eye off the side of the road in a culvert.
It's not like a bear, and it wasn't like a coyote. I've never seen anything like that.
No details. Big, like 10-foot foam. Big. It freaked out, hit in the leg.
I don't think it registered what it was.
What's the likelihood that there are big animals that have gone undetected by scientists and by trained observers?
Welcome back, everyone. How y'all doing tonight on this Super Bowl Sunday? Got to get my stuff a little rolling here. Been a hectic weekend. Got the official start to the Alabama Bigfoot project. Here's to hoping everybody can hear me. Can anybody hear me? Can anybody hear me out there? You people have to be my test comment, my test crowd before all these people get in here. Give me a simple thumbs up. Let me know you can hear me. Anyways, if you can. We made it out to the start of the Alabama Bigfoot project this weekend. I had all my stuff loaded up. And I mean, we're talking about, we put out the bait station, we put out the bait box, we put out Sasquatch pheromone chips, hung some apples. Not that that'd do much, but we got it all officially going. And in the meantime, froze our keisters off. Not sure what I was thinking, but I was like, yeah, no, hey, I'll sleep on the ground. I don't need no heater. My wife didn't like that too much. She didn't have to sleep on the ground. She had the cot. Connor Flynn stabbed a hole in my cot. So I was just going to sleep on the ground, and I brought one sleeping bag. I'm colorblind, so sometimes getting the red one is a little bit of an issue. You know, what Sasquatch pheromones smell like? Brother, it smells like rotten death. It stinks so bad. It's a smell that does not leave your nasal cavity for quite some time. Anyways, it got down. Flat Rock said in the 20s on Friday night. Last night it got down in the low 30s, like 31. It was bad. It was bad. That ground was hard, you know. And then the smoke of the fire does something to my nasal passages. I don't know if it affects everybody else, but it always affects me pretty bad. And I felt terrible, was kind of dragging along. But we got everything going, everything set up out there. I had pictures, all this stuff uploaded. No, they are, I had photos and everything uploaded to everybody, right? So I could play during this show. My computer decided, to lose all of that with about 4 minutes to go. So I've been running back and forth trying to get this fixed up. Okay, Meacham Hartgrove asks, am I using ape pheromones? Nope. They are specifically Sasquatch pheromones. So what it is, it's the scent of a woman, I guess, from all the primates impregnated into a little plastic chip. And they're rancid, bro. they are believed to be one of the main reasons they were able to get the Skookum body cast, which I don't know if you have looked into that, but you should. Detractors say it could be a moose. I think it could be a moose. Also think it could be a Bigfoot. Either way, I don't think there's enough there to tell you one way or another. If you wanted to believe it was a moose, you're going to believe it's a moose or an elk, right? But if you want to believe it's a Bigfoot, there's enough there for you to satisfy your belief. Thanks, everybody, for joining me on this Super Bowl evening. Also, some of you may see that memberships are now available. I haven't done a video yet. And you also may notice that you are no longer a member, right? So let me address that. I wanted to keep the cost low. YouTube takes 30%. I didn't want to charge more than like $6.99 for the big tier. So I tried to price it to where we would hit that $6.99, or we would get about $4.99 for the big tier, and then YouTube could get the rest. And YouTube posted that at like $10, and I appreciate all of you people that bought $10 memberships. I felt that was too much. So I closed all of the memberships and re-uploaded all of the memberships. And this was supposed to happen like before anybody knew. As soon as it went live, I knew this and I like ended it. The problem was YouTube kept it on through the end of Friday night. And I had a bunch of people join to be members. I appreciate that. Like, that was awesome. But charging y'all $9.99 a month is a little much, So check your status. If you bought a membership, check your status, and you can go back and purchase now at a cheaper rate on both tiers. Okay. And with that said, Wednesday night, we'll have our first members only chat after the, video release. But yeah, hey, this weekend was great in the woods. It was very cold. But outside of that, we heard some whoops. We got some stuff recorded the first weekend. And so here's my thoughts on doing a long-term research study. Okay, so the problem with doing one of these studies in the state forest or the national forest, I mean, for sure, if you got to do it, you got to do it. The problem is you can't really be in control of the situation. If you understand what I'm saying, you're going to have outside people coming in all the time, right? It lucked out for us that we got a place that would give us that permission to be the only research team studying this spot. And that's a big help, because you don't have to worry now about, are people doing knocks at these creatures? Are people shooting at these creatures? Are people howling to them? Because with the Bigfoot project, with Alabama Bigfoot project, the first thing I really wanted to do was stop howling to them. Stop knocking to them. Let's sit back and listen to them. Okay, that they will talk to each other. Flat Rock, thanks for coming a member, buddy. Really appreciate it. Cave Dweller. Jay Rich is also now a cave dweller. He was one of the original ones that bought a cave dweller, but now he's got his back. So we're not going to do that, right? We're gonna let these things live. We're gonna put some things out there for them to interact with, right? But we're not going to be pushing in on them, trying to chase them, trying to hunt them down. And that I think that's going to be big. So our main thing right now is we have 4 audio recorders out at different parts of this property. That will hopefully go up till about 8. Okay. If we can get 8 audio recorders out there, that's going to be big, because anything on the property, you know, if it's on one audio recorder, we can now check all the other ones, and, you know, maybe we triangulated a position on where this thing was at and when it was there, you know, and as it would be cool. Like, let's say they come up the creek and they start walking up towards the house. They're going to pass 1, 2, and then 3, you know, audio recorder, so we get to hear their whole walk up to it, right? And the audio is invasive. It doesn't make no noise, very, very small, you know, and then to mask that human scent, we put the pheromone chips out with everything, right? Yes, now there is this wild new scent introduced into the area. However, that's going to mask any kind of thing we were doing there. JP58, Baby Squatch, thank you much. Thank you much. Shane Grove, keep it clean in here, sir. There's children watching. There's children watching. What was I saying before Shane comes in and says some dumb stuff, right? Which Shane always says some dumb stuff. Yeah, but really excited for what we come out with. And the cool thing about the project is we're going to allow people to go through our audio for us. So the audio recorders will be checked every 2 weeks. And in those 2 weeks, you know, audio's rolling 24/7 on multiple recorders. We're going to split it up into little chunks, you know, like 48-hour chunks or something like that, and allow people to listen to it. I'm going to try to put it in like Audacity and stuff, pick up the little like big wave points, but you can still miss stuff outside of that. So that's really where we're at with that. Eventually we will get more into, you know, after a few months, we will get more into trying to have interactions with these creatures. Rachel just became a cave dweller. Everybody, once again, memberships are up now. Thank you so much, Rachel. Also, Skitter, Baby Squatch, thank you much, brother. Everything is appreciated around here. Let's see. Okay, so with the memberships, Baby Squatch tier, $2.99. You get custom emojis, custom badges, and member shout outs. Also, you get 10% off of merchandise from the store. Cave Dweller, 20% off merch, 25% off expeditions. So not this one that we've got like 2 spots left. I think they're spoken for. But future expeditions, 25% off of that for the $6.99 fee. And then another thing is there will be an annual members only expedition every year. No charge. If you are a member to the Bigfoot Underground, if you're a cave dweller, us cave dwellers will meet up somewhere in the country. And, you know, just have a good weekend, you know, wherever we may land. Ideally, it would be cool to do Florida, but if we do summertime, we're definitely not doing Florida. You know, maybe mountains of Tennessee, the LBL or something like that. Okay. Hartgrove Meacham just became a cave dweller. Thank you much. Brian Davis, you as well. I appreciate it, guys. You also get the members only live stream, which will happen Monday night. We'll get on there and talk about literally any Bigfoot subject you want to talk about. I will bring guests on every now and then just to talk about whatever we're talking about, right? You know, so it'll be interviews that the public never sees. You know, and I think that's about it. I don't think I left anything out. But $6.99, not bad for all that. All right, 8:21. Has anybody? Christina Couch. Oh, Christina's back. I know Wim Walker was looking for you the other day. He was worried about you. She became a cave dweller as well. Thank you all so much. So, with that said, we're going to open the lines since we're not going to watch the Patriots win another effing Super Bowl in my life. I will never see it. It's going to happen. I know it, but I won't be watching this shit. I am done with it. My Miami Dolphins, bro, y'all got to do something. I'm sorry I'm not going to rant football. I'm a huge football fan. And then another thing, the Super Bowl has become a whole like social justice thing, and that's fine, right? It's not fine. Okay, I take that back. It's not fine. If you're into that kind of stuff, that's fine, right? But like where I put my football is to get away from all that shit, right? I don't want to hear about Bad Bunny wearing a dress for whatever reason or Kendrick Lamar doing something against police brutality. Like, yeah, those things are real things, dude, and they suck. But guys, give it a effing break. Let's just can I find a spot where that's not going on, where I can just absorb into my TV for a little bit, not feel bad because whatever. JP58 changed her level. She is now a cave dweller. That's pretty cool. But yeah, if I didn't say cave dwellers get 20% off of the merch. TWPG 204 NFL is rigged. I believe this. I'm really starting to believe this. It's not going to take much more for me to believe this. Just rig it for the damn Dolphins one time, guys. Like, please, before I die, right? I never got to watch the Super Bowl with my dad. And that bums me out. You know, but I'd like to watch one with my son. I'd like the Dolphins to win one with my son. My dad's in a Miami Dolphins urn, just as he asked to be. And I don't know if he was joking or not, but he said, when I die, put me in a Dolphins urn, put me in front of the TV so I could be watching with all the games with y'all. And that's where he sits. And now I feel bad that I put my father in a Miami Dolphins urn. But whatever. All right. Okay, we're going to go ahead and open the lines, right? Because that's what everybody wants to hear. You want to hear some call-ins, don't you? We are receiving calls. The number, 850-695-0522. If you have a story, you're out there, give me a call. Let's talk about it, man. You know, let's hear about what happened to you, you know. This week, I got a couple of interviews. One of the callers last week, a guy named Tim, on the last call in, he had the property in Michigan. We spoke about 30 minutes, okay? But he didn't get into even half of the stuff. Okay, so I'm going to interview him for the Friday show this week, and he's going to tell me everything that happened. And it's a really cool story. All right, we got our first call. Hold on, I got to get my headphones on. All right. Whoop. You are on the Bigfoot Underground Super Bowl show. Who am I speaking with? Hello. What is going on? All right. Call back, please. I don't know what's going on. Well, technical difficulties still biting me in my tail. I got a new iPhone 17 and it did not want to link to my Mixcaster here. So I'm going to try to call this guy back. I know my voicemail is full. Not hearing nothing. What is going on, brother? Bluetooth connections. I'm connected, bro. You should be here. Okay. You should be here with me. Running the line out. Everything is correct. You have muted the damn channel. You are a dumbass, sir. Oh my gosh. Bro. Straight dumbass.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, if I wasn't a moron. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing good. You feeling sickly?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, man. Vitamin C.
And it's on the way, bro. It's on the way. Those emergency packets.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like the smoke from the fire gets me every time. You know, gets me every time.
You got to get on the other side of the fire.
Bro, I can't. They say that the smoke follows beauty, and everywhere I go, it's just in my face. I had to walk away from it last night. I was like, oh, this is ridiculous. I'm just going to sit out here and freeze.
That sucks.
Damnedest thing I ever seen. How you doing, bud?
Well, I'm better than I should be.
Yeah, that's all we can hope for, you know?
Anyway, I was going to tell you something that popped into my head from when I was a kid that I hadn't. I mean, this is back in the 60s.
And this is Skitter, everybody. Skitter, who's in the comments?
Yeah.
Yeah, and just letting y'all know. All right, go ahead, bud.
Anyway, I forgot all about this. And, you know, I never started putting two and two together about all this stuff until just like 10 years ago. And anyway, what popped into my head was where I lived in Northern California back then, I could walk across the street to my buddy's house and the creek was in his backyard, and I'd follow the creek on down to the river about a half a mile. And across the river, there was a big spring. I mean, a big spring, you know. You could throw a rock across it just barely. And on the shore of this spring, there's a road between the spring and this two-story house. And this house is like, I don't know, 30s or 40s. You know, all collapsing and falling in and rotting. And in the downstairs of this house in the corner was a big old nest. And me and my buddy, we thought it was a bear. Like, God, that bear. And we figured it was a haunted house because it was so creepy.
Right.
We thought, oh, man, that bear, that's got to be a bear nest. God, that stinks. Now I kind of think it wasn't a bear.
Yeah, no doubt. After all you know now.
Yeah. Well, why would a bear pack all that brush and pine needles in that building?
A bear will lay down, but I ain't never seen a bear do that. I've seen a bear dig a hole.
Pack all that stuff inside the building.
No. Like, I mean, I don't know. Do they take stuff into a cave? See, I've never went in a bear den, so I wouldn't know. I've been in a bear den that's in Florida, and because we don't have caves in our area, they'll dig a big ass hole.
Right.
And they'll get down in it. They usually, the two I've been in, they didn't put anything in there. It was just the dirt.
They'd have to carry everything in their mouth.
Right.
They got no thumbs. They can't pick stuff up and carry it.
Thank God they have no thumbs.
You know? I imagine they could sink their teeth into your ass and drag you somewhere.
Oh yeah, 100%. Well, so hey, now that I got you here, let's talk about what's your favorite of all I guess, Bigfoot history, Bigfoot lore? Would it be something like the Albert Osman case or the Patterson Gimlin film? If you were talking to a skeptic, what would you tell them to look into?
There's nothing better than the Patty film to me.
Right.
And then the Sierra sounds, but now that there's this AI, they're going to blow everything off.
I hear you, and I am worried about that too. But it's as simple as putting the file into an AI to double check, because the AI will be able to tell you that AI made it.
Right. Well, we know that the Patty film was produced in '67. There was no AI.
Right. And
Hollywood couldn't make a costume like that back then.
I know people say that, and I definitely want to put that to the test.
Well,
right.
You look at her legs while she's running, you can see the muscles running, and her boobs are flopping. They wouldn't do that with a costume.
Well, so no, they really wouldn't, but the breasts always looked like rock hard to me. They never looked like they flopped. I didn't get that out of it. But the problem with, the footage we're looking at with that, as good as it is, it's a copy of a copy of a copy. The first copy is gone. Nobody's seen that, and I believe the second copy is gone too. Don't quote me to that, but so everything, there's artifacts and all that stuff added to it. So how can it be? And the other thing that struck me as odd with that is like the female breasts on primates that we know of, if we're saying Bigfoot's a primate now. And yes, it could still be different because it's a different creature, but there are no primates that have like full breasts like that. Even when they have young, they're never like.
But they don't have
full
50% human DNA either.
Well, that's debatable. That's another thing that's debatable. Like I got into it with a guy I've interviewed. He was bringing up the Melba Ketchum stuff, the whole Dave Paulides study. And how much about that do you know? I don't know a lot.
Well,
I take it that's what you were referencing when you said.
Yeah. Well, the thing is how much of what you know to be a fact for yourself can you prove?
Well, I know for a fact, and I can prove this, that because Melba's been in the game since like 2013, 2014, and she had done a study, and she tried to get the paper peer reviewed, so she sent it out to her peers, right?
Yeah.
One of the peers, Dr. Todd Disatel, he pointed out flaws with it, basically saying that she was trying to manufacture DNA by putting different animals together. He wasn't the only one to say this, and the paper ended up not getting reviewed. So what she did was she bought her own journal and published her own paper. Right, which is a giant red flag. If we're going science and people won't, when they peer review it, they won't put their stamp on it, then you got to come back to what you're doing and rework it out. But now it seems like everybody's forgotten that, because she went away for a couple of years and then came back talking something slightly different, but the same thing. I don't know if people don't know that, or if they're looking past that. Something's happened that I'm not aware of.
I think that she put out something that wasn't accepted by the mainstream, and they just attacked her.
It could be, right? And that could be because I believe the government does everything it can to shoot this stuff down. However, I think
there's things about us that we could learn from the Bigfoots.
Right.
That would help us to be defend ourselves against the government if it all came out. I think we have latent abilities that could be taught. And I think that they don't want us partnering with the Bigfoots.
Right. It
They're
could
afraid
be,
of
man.
both of us.
Could be. I always wondered now why, because she kind of got ran out of the community. Right.
Well, that's kind of a red flag right there when everybody comes down on you.
Yeah, but it was the Bigfooters. Right. It
Really?
was the people who wouldn't do that. Right.
Well, you know, they're always eating each other.
They are always eating each other, but there was one of my friends, she took a lot of money from them and said that it was like angel DNA. And then they were like, what is going on?
How do you prove that?
How do I prove which part?
I mean, if it was angelic DNA.
Well, yeah. How would you? You can't.
Where do you come up with any way to identify it?
Yeah, you can't. You can't.
Well, you'd have to have proven Nephilim DNA out of a grave or something from long ago to compare it.
Right. And that's what I have a problem with Darby Orcutt's new study he's doing out of, I think it's South Carolina, right? Or North Carolina, one of the Carolinas. They're looking for, it's a microscope study. So what they want to do is they're looking for hair that doesn't have a medulla. Okay, so how in the fucking hell did you figure that out? Like, why are you looking for hair that doesn't have a medulla? Like, what am I missing? Did y'all actually pluck one off of a Sasquatch and now you know that their hair is absent of a medulla? Like, how does that work?
It has to have a medulla or there's no DNA, right?
Okay, brother. I'm just some fucking dude from the swamp. I have no idea, try to educate myself in these things, but you hear so much conflicting stuff and you end up at the end of the day not knowing who to believe. Dr. Todd Disotell, who looked at Melba's original paper and tried to peer review it. I do trust him. I've hung out with that man a lot, had some great times with that man, and I don't see a reason for him to lie, because he always offered to test my DNA if I got any, to send it to him. If I got anything, it was a sure thing. But he always told me Bigfoot has a 0.0000001% chance of existing. However, with that said, he said he believed my story, and he said he's not going to tell a few people like me no, because in the off chance that Bigfoot is real, to him, right? Yeah. A skeptic, he wants to be the one to sequence it.
Yeah. What did Jane Goodall say?
She believed that they existed, but unfortunately I never got to speak with her, and that bums me out, but is what it is, Well, science is going to accept what the government pays them to accept for the large part. Right.
And there's going to be rogues. There's going to be people who don't care. They want the truth. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it can be hidden forever.
No, it can't. Eventually it's got to come out. I think if this alien disclosure thing is if there's actually something to it and they're telling us the truth finally, I think that Bigfoot may be something in there.
Yeah. Well, I know people who say that they have talked to mediums who talk to Bigfoots.
Oh, hey,
they say that the Bigfoot told them they will reveal themselves eventually. It's coming.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I went out with a medium, a psychic. I don't know how you classify each one, but a psychic medium. There you go. Named Phyllis Cesar. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but she came out on an expedition, and the people that came on it were like, whoa, why has he got a psychic here, right? And just for shits and giggles, I was like, hey, can you talk to him? And she started speaking some language, and straight up said, yeah, hey, they've left you something back there, and pointed. Now, this lady she had to have a hip replacement at the time. She couldn't move real well. She's in her 60s. Her going and traipsing through the swamp wasn't something that was about to happen. So I gathered my boys up. I'm like, let's go. They said they left us something out here. We walk out there and we find 3 trackways coming from this dam, the Mayaca River, walking all through the swamp, circling the swamp, all in the mud, and then right back to it. And then when we came out, I'm like, how in the hell did you find this? Right? Like, how did you know? How did you know that was back there? She had, brother, like, this was a swamp. This is a thick ass swamp. Most people would not go in this swamp. Yet she knew the stuff was there. And she told me, well, they like you, blah, blah, blah. They're going to leave something else for you. So we leave, the weekend's over. And she goes home. I'm on my way home. I get a call from the lady that owned the place, the Crowley Museum, Natural History and stuff like that. And she goes, hey, somebody left a rabbit, a bunny rabbit, a small bunny rabbit. They broke its neck and left it up here on the stump in front of the house. And she's like, did any of your people do this? I'm like, listen, there ain't nobody that can run down a damn rabbit anyways. Like, but no, at no point did anybody do this. And she autopsied the thing. She's a biologist and said, yep, it's just a clean break on the neck. There were no signs of predation, like no claw marks or anything of that nature. And it was like the Bigfoot just left, this little bitty bunny rabbit up there for us, just like the psychic said. So I don't put the psychic thing out of possibilities. I think some people do have those type of abilities. I think there are a lot of grifters, just like in the Bigfoot community. But I think in that sea of supposed psychics, you've got a percentage that are actually real.
Well, that kind of applies to everything about everybody on the planet.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are full of it, and there's some people that are the real deal.
Yeah, there really is.
I've got a buddy over in Idaho. He's seen him when he was 16 years old, and he's had mind speak with him a bunch of times.
Mm-hmm.
And his wife refuses to listen to anything about him. Well, they mind spoke to him last year and told him, she's going to know we're real. We're going to show her. Last December, she was down at the river and found some deep tracks in the mud. Footprints, with toes and all that in the mud in freezing cold,
Right.
And that's probably not people.
No, and I wonder, because that opens up a whole realm of possibility of like, why would the government hide Bigfoot from us? But if they have some type of abilities where they can use telepathy, maybe travel as balls of light, cloaking, coming through a portal. I think that's
how much weaponization you could do with all that.
Right. And I think that's more than enough reason to not let us know, because that would be if they come forward, and they kind of have, saying that they've created portals using CERN and stuff like that.
Right.
But if they come forward and like, yo, hey, we've got this teleportation now, we can do these kind of things, and we can travel in and out of different realms of existence. Bro, I'm sure the economy would probably crash. People just flip the hell out. Tinfoil sales would probably go through the roof. Everybody start making them some damn hats.
Yeah.
But yeah,
things are getting crazier, man. Every decade, it's just a little more wild.
Yeah, I'm just trying to hang on. Hopefully, I can hang on long enough to where I can see the day where Bigfoot is a, known creature.
Well, I think they're just going to have to pull the pin themselves. I don't think it's going to have anything to do with people and their evidence. I think they're just going to have to walk out in public and say, look, here we are, like on the White House lawn or something. Here we are, man.
Yep. It's going to take something like
nobody
that.
can say it was somebody in a suit or something, pick up a car and throw it or something,
Yep. Got to do something. And I wonder if people would even believe it then in the world of fake news that we live in.
Well, there's going to be your haters and your people that want to ridicule no matter what,
Yeah.
no matter what.
Well, hey, this Easter, not sure if anybody follows, and I forget his name. How did I do that? There's a guy in North Georgia. I think his name is Chris. I know his name is Chris, but he calls up balls of light, and he has this like entity, this blue lady he talks to. What is his? How am I getting this guy's name? Anyways, the government is involved with him. They've seen him perform basically miracles. Right. Wow. I've got to look this guy's name up real quick, just so everybody knows I'm not sitting here.
I got a ball of light story for you.
1 second. Chris Bledsoe. This guy, Chris Bledsoe. Okay, so like seriously, this guy can sit down and call in orbs anytime, anywhere, any place. And apparently an animal got hurt of his, and he asked the balls of light to heal his animal, and his animal was dying, like right there, bleeding out. Bleeding stopped. Animal got up and was just fine. But the government is working with him now, and he says that a new what word did he use? A new wave of humanity will enter a new phase of consciousness on Easter of this year because some star is supposed to line up with the Sphinx. And I guess everything will be known at that moment moving forward. Not sure what that means. And I know there's a lot of people that always make these kind of wild ass predictions. And that's probably exactly what this is. But I know I'm keeping an eye on it.
Yeah, well, I've learned, you just don't offhandedly discount anything.
No, you can't.
You can't.
But go ahead and tell me your orb story since we're on that.
Well, like, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, I got up in the middle of the night to take a leak, and I walked outside and looked up, and there's this orange orb up in the sky. And if you was to hold a quarter at arm's length, that's about how big it looked. But inside of that was another orange orb. And inside of that, it looked like a filament. The glass light bulbs that weren't frosted, you could see right through them.
Yeah.
It looked like the filament inside one of those clear light bulbs and burning,
Right.
There's a globe inside of a globe with a filament burning inside of it. And I said, what are you looking at? And it took off up into outer space, man, like lightning.
Right.
It was gone.
That's wild, dude. And
when I was a kid, I saw 3 red orbs hovering over the mountains 10 miles away.
Mm-hmm.
Spaced, 1,000 feet apart maybe and 1,000 feet off the ground and just hovering. And there's nothing over that mountain. There's nothing on that mountaintop.
So what do you think? Do you think that the Bigfoots travel as orbs, as some native? I've been on a few native reservations, and some of them believed that that's how they travel. That's why they'll leave one track, or the tracks will just stop. Is that they'll turn into these balls of light, or do you think it's something else?
I think the balls of light turn into Bigfoot.
Right.
And I think wherever they come from, it's a whole different existence.
Now, do you think they could turn into something else besides Bigfoot if they wanted to, Dogman?
Well, I think they could be anything they want.
Nice. That's pretty interesting because you hear things like the Barden Booger. Okay, that's 1980s, late 70s, mid 80s kind of Bigfoot outbreak in a small town in Florida, just above Gainesville. They would see this orb through the woods, and then there would be a Bigfoot there. And so they put 2 and 2 together, and they said the Barden Booger was a Bigfoot that was carrying a lantern. You know what I mean? Because they didn't have no frame of reference for that ball of light. They just figured this damn thing was carrying a lantern through the woods because people would see it.
Have you heard people say that they've seen Bigfoot faces inside the orbs?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Bledsoe, and y'all should look at it. It's one of his new videos. They filmed an orb on the beach somewhere.
I gotta write that down.
Yeah, Chris Bledsoe, everybody. And he thinks he's messing with angels. Okay. I think he could be messing with something else, you know. But the thing about it is, I don't know. You know, he claims to know.
He may be right, but you know, seems like there's 2 sides to everything.
Exactly, like yin and yang, right?
Yeah.
And anyways, this last orb they filmed from the beach, it had a number in it, and then like that number meant something. You had to look it up because I don't want to butcher it. But Chris Bledsoe, I know he posts a lot of stuff on social media. If you're on Facebook or like X or anything, he's blown up in the time I've known him, because I talked to him probably like 2021, you know, about going up there to his property, because these orbs, these angels, they cured his Crohn's disease, right?
You got to go. Well,
he ended up blowing up, and he's now supposed to come Bigfooting with me and a friend of mine, or go to the spot where I call my lights up. Because I do have a spot where I can go where it's about 90% of the time these lights will show themselves.
Awesome.
And he's supposed to come out there and kind of get a feeling for it, you know, and maybe give me some further information. But dude, he's been on News Nation, CNN, like he's in the UFO hearings in Congress and shit like that. So I don't
he's not just talking out his ass.
No, and I don't ever expect him to have the time to go out with me, but maybe he does, right? I'm hoping for it.
There's no way he could mislead that many big people. I mean, there's something behind it, or they wouldn't even talk to him.
Exactly. You know, there's something going on there. And I mean, he's got the damn video, right? So like he'll live stream and call these orbs up. And it ain't bullshit. Like you can't, I know how video works, right? And the stuff he's doing, you can't do. Like you could do it if it was a pre-recorded video, but his aren't pre-recorded. You know what I mean?
Well, you know, I don't think that the answers are going to come from mid-tarsal breaks or gobs of hair. I think it's going to come from the rabbit hole.
It is. It's going to be, you know, and I think because of that rabbit hole, and I tell this, there are some people, because I go out with a lot of people, right? I've never really been part of an exclusive group. Like, oh, I'm a BFRO investigator or anything like that. Not there's a problem with it. I just haven't done that. So I get to go out with everybody, you know, and I can freelance, right? So some people though that I'll go Bigfooting with, nothing ever happens. And it's almost like they don't want to come around when that dude is there.
It could be,
because I'll bring my buddy David Lauer, like David Lauer in Jacksonville, brother, love that dude. Even my wife said, there's something about him, because every single time we go out, there's something about David. These things they'll either come in light form or we'll hear them. There will be some kind of activity.
I think they know who people are.
Right.
You know how even a dog can judge if somebody evil's walking up.
Hell yeah.
You know, and I think the Bigfoots, if someone evil's coming into their forest, either they're going to clam up or they're going to run them out immediately. There's not going to be anything good going to happen. But if someone really good comes in there, there's no telling what they're going to show.
Right. You know, and we usually go without cameras and stuff because as much as I'd like to prove it to all of y'all, you know what I mean? At the same time, It's our experience. You know what I mean? And that's more important to me, right? Because I've already got a video that's out that I believe the only reason that those Bigfoots showed themselves and allowed us to get that thermal footage is because my dad had just beat cancer. We were hanging out, just father and son. You know what I mean? Just enjoying each other, right? It was a kind of a pure moment, right? Like a Hallmark moment, right? And
Right.
I believe those things. They knew we didn't have no bad intentions.
The emotions just drew them in.
Yeah, I think it was something like that, you know. And I had a lady at Hopsquatch in Portland, Oregon, somewhere around 2014, come up to me and tell me that she was a witch. She came up and told me that. I laughed it off because I still believe Bigfoot was.
Her name?
I do not, but she was with a guy named Tom, and the guy Tom, it's not Tom Cantrell. I believe Tom just passed away. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
There's another guy named Tom who's kind of out there on the West Coast. He's friends with Cliff. He writes up Tom Powell.
Yeah.
Is it Tom?
I have his book right here in my hand.
Yeah. And so I was talking with him, and I think the lady was his
He just
wife.
died.
What?
I think Tom Powell just died.
No. Come on now.
Yeah, it seems to me like I heard he just died.
Let me look.
It was on Flash of Beauty, I think.
Oh, I hope not. I really hope not.
I hope I'm wrong, but it seems to me like
that's it. It's Tom Powell. I don't know if he died or not, but I don't think he did.
Mm-hmm.
Vernon Pumphrey, appreciate the cash out, buddy. But yeah, the lady was with Tom, and you know, Tom, I liked Tom. I only met him the one time, but Tom's really, he's got a really powerful energy to him, right? So like, when you're around him, it's kind of hard to gauge what's going on. Like, is this guy psycho or is he really passionate? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But I didn't pay it no mind because I believed at that time that Bigfoot was a flesh and blood thing. I wasn't rude to the lady or anything. I heard her out and stuff. I said, wow, that's so interesting, you know, but I was like, yeah, wow, this is insane.
Was she blonde?
I believe so. I
I think I know who it is.
But anyways, turns out I believe she's right. You know, years later, here we are 11 years later, 12 years later. I believe she was right.
Yeah, I think Flash of Beauty interviewed her. I can't think of her name right off.
I'll have to look it up. I've seen some of their stuff. I haven't seen a lot of their like online stuff, you know.
It's a lot of it's mind blowing, man.
Is it pretty good?
Yeah, well, there's some of them are just, and I like this one guy and his buddy. They were going somewhere on the coast highway in Oregon, and an elk jumped up on the road, and it turned into a big ball of light. It shot up in the sky, and you should hear the guy tell the story.
Wow. So would that be like, I wonder if these balls of light could be considered what the skinwalkers are, changing into different creatures?
Well, I would say it's some kind of a supernatural creature.
Yeah.
And
that would fit the bill. That would fit the mold. You know what I mean?
If they could take any form they wanted to, they could do anything they wanted to on any level that they think you personally could accept or get your mind around, you know?
Right.
They're gonna, because I think Bob, there's a pretty good chance that a lot of what people experience is created personally for them. Like you finding those tracks in the swamp, that was for you.
Right.
That wasn't for someone else to find. And I think a lot of people, like I told you, my buddy's wife over here in Idaho, those tracks down at the river were for her.
Exactly. And that's what I tell people. I can tell you and teach you ways I think that will help you have a Sasquatch encounter. But at the end of the day, it's your journey. It's different than mine. It's not.
It's all evidence. All evidence. It's all the same deal. It's got to be personal because other people's experience, it isn't ours. It's not ours.
Right. And
I can't prove what I know. That's only for me.
Exactly. But you know it. You know what I mean? You know it
It's real,
100% to be true. And so at the end of the day, does that outweigh proving it to the world? Because, I mean, here I am wanting to prove it so they get protected. But at the end of the day, I also think they're doing just fine. You know, I don't think they need our help.
Well, we've all got our own journey, and each Sasquatch has his journey too.
Right.
They all have free will. You know, we don't know what kind of a relationship they have with the Creator. I personally think, I suspect that there's multiple races of Sasquatches, and there's also supernatural impersonators, which is, you know, something that came from some of the mediums have said that there are some evil entities that portray Sasquatch in a physical form and do bad things to give them a bad name.
It could be, you know.
Who knows?
Yeah, when you look at humans spend a lot of time spreading rumors about other humans to give them a bad name. So why not? You know, at the end of the day, everything's on the table because we don't know shit. And it's been, let's just say everybody's been looking for Bigfoot since 1966. Brother, we don't know anything about these creatures like concrete. You may know some stuff. I may know some stuff, but fucking that's not actually, you know, that's our opinion.
It means something to you and me, but it doesn't mean something to John on the street.
Exactly. And so going at the same, that trying to think same things over and over again and expecting a different result is the definition of insanity. And that's where Bigfoot research is. Like for all the people
chasing its tail.
Yeah, for all the people that are into looking for an ape out there, yeah, hey, I commend you. You go ahead, do that, but don't take this other stuff off the table because, you know, your whole ape theory doesn't account for the whole phenomenon. It only counts for a little bit.
You have to have an open mind in every direction.
Right.
And if you get some information that sounds really weird, that doesn't mean it's false. You put it on the shelf and it may link up with some other information in the future and you'll find out it's true. So just, you know, keep it in the library. Don't throw it away.
Yeah. And that's the same thing that any good detective would do if they were investigating a crime or something like that. They're going to listen to the witnesses, you know, and they're going to take everything into effect, even if some of the witnesses end up being wrong, you know. He's going to go where the evidence leads him to, no matter what that evidence is.
Well, you know, honest-hearted people will, but there are people who are, you know, they want money or power or the spotlight or whatever. But
right,
I mean, honest people will stick to the truth, even if it hurts, you know, and even if they may have to just keep it to themselves.
Yeah, you know, because at the end of the day, that's the worst thing about the Bigfoot stuff, right? Like, sure, people are going to think my father's video is a hoax. It's just going to happen, right? You know, but when I'm telling people, like family members or people I just met about Bigfoot, and they think you're a liar, that's what bothers me the most, right? It's like... brother, I'm not lying.
Well,
you know what I'm you know, it's like
people say God is a hoax.
Yeah.
You know, and they're idiots, but they don't know it. They may be thinking it you know, that's the truth.
Yeah, they may believe that, and they probably do.
They have a right to that.
Yep, they sure do.
But it may be someday in the future something's going to slap them upside the head, and they're going to see what's real and what's not.
Right.
You know,
that's why we have to be fluid. You know, that's why we have to go with the motion. You know,
well, that's natural. That's that's a natural way to learn. That's how science ought to be.
It should. But unfortunately, the scientific community, they always find proof of the things that the people are paying them want found.
Well, and then you got jealousy and backstabbing too, that humanity brings that into everything.
Everything, brother. It's in Bigfoot, it's in the aliens, it's in the science community, it's in all of it.
Yeah, well, if you really care, you're going to take the time to sift through it.
Yep. And that's the Macho Man said, cream always rises to the top. You know, the people that get in there and do the work, and there's going to be somebody, I hope they're born already. But somebody that will sift through all the shit and not get hung up on one way or another and eventually end up proving this.
Yeah. Well, we have to prove it to ourselves. That's the main thing.
That is the main thing.
You know.
Yep. And well, it's true to me. It's true to you. And I guess asking for anything else would be maybe being greedy.
Well, you can share a little bit with other people if they really want it,
Mm-hmm.
but it really doesn't make it real for them until something happens for them.
Right. And yeah, because it's a tall glass.
I think that the Bigfoots, they keep a pretty good eye on our thoughts. I think they know what we're thinking. And I think that they pick out people from society who are on the right wavelength or the right frequency, and they feed them little nuggets of information and experiences through their lives.
Right. Hey, I don't disagree with that, bro. I really don't. But I caution any Bigfoots trying to get into this head. Good luck to you. Well, buddy, hey, man.
You never know.
I appreciate the call, dude. And till I talk to you again, man. Thank you so much. And I hope you have a good one. And I appreciate your support, and all you do for this channel.
Right on. Thank you for the time you put into it and sharing with everybody.
Yeah. Hey, man, we all love it, dude. Let's just sit around and talk about it. This is one of the highlights of my week now. I'll tell you what, because Monday morning getting up and going to work, that damn sure ain't a highlight. But this right here is. Yeah,
well, it's just like dinner. You got to cook it before you can eat it. You got to put work into everything.
Yes, sir. All right, buddy.
Okay. Catch you later.
All right, man. Bye. All right. Skitter with the call in. It's cool that we're getting like repeat callers, as this grows and grows. Okay, hold on. We got another one. Damn it. Now it's about to start talking about Kid Rock lip syncing. You're on the Bigfoot Underground. Who am I talking with?
This is the storyteller. How you doing, Stacy?
I'm doing all right, bud. How about yourself?
Oh, not too bad. I was just listening to the last caller. You guys were talking about the orbs and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Brian, by the way, just in case you forgot.
Oh, yeah. Well, so, okay, here's the deal. I don't have any kind of caller ID the way I do I just get to see the location and the number, but it won't come up as a contact because it's forwarded to my phone through Google Voice. So, but yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Gotcha. Yeah, so you guys were talking about the orbs and all that kind of stuff. So I was kind of wanting to chime in on that a little bit. How much information have you studied on the orbs? And I know paranormal side of it, there's a lot of spirit activity around orbs and things like that. But on the orbs and the when the Bigfoot are coming in, is it more like a haunting? I've heard a lot about it, but like I said in the past, I haven't Bigfooted.
Mm-hmm.
I've done the paranormal stuff, but usually when we had orbs coming up, we would have activity. Is it always that way with the Bigfooting, or is it, you ever run into a case where there are orbs but nothing else? Have you ever had anything happen like that with you?
Okay, so the first time I experienced the orbs, we were sitting on a ridge, and we were sitting there, and there were knocks coming down, right? And they were getting closer and closer. Well, on the other side of this creek, they ended up stopping. The knocks did, right when it got to the other side of this creek. And we were kind of sitting in like a V, the creek being in the bottom,
Yeah.
And we were up kind of midway on one hill, and the knocks kind of come all the way down. But the knocks stopped, and then this light appeared in between me and my friend. Now, if you look directly at the light, it wasn't there. But if you looked forward, you could see it out of your peripheral vision. We both seen it. We started talking about it, and then it went up into the sky, and you looked up and you could see it in the sky, and it just went away. But there's been times where the orbs have shown up, and we've asked them to bring the Bigfoots, and then we would have Bigfoot activity. And then there's been times where it was just the orbs. They never brought anything else, because I always ask after they're there for 15, 20 minutes if they can bring the Bigfoots forward.
So the reason I was asking that is because when I was in seminary years ago, I did a lot of studying on a lot of stuff. And I come across this guy by the name of Chuck Missler. Have you ever heard that name before?
Nope.
Okay, so Chuck Missler, he was connected with a publishing school called Cornea House. Now, it was like college seminar level Bible study. This dude was a legit rocket scientist. I mean, this guy had more degrees than a thermometer, okay? And I was listening to some of his seminars, which would go on for an hour or two. And he said something very interesting, because he got into quantum physics. And he gave this analogy of dimensional space and dimensional beings crossing over to one plane to another.
Right.
He said, imagine a stick figure drawn on a piece of paper. He said, that's a two-dimensional being right there, okay? That little man on the paper. Now, if you want to interact with him, you got to stick your fingers to that piece of paper, because you're a three-dimensional being.
Right.
He said, but to that two-dimensional being, all they're going to see is a line. That's it. And he was saying that when a being transfers from one dimension to another, sometimes that's the effect that we see. These beings kind of, I guess, on the borderline in between the two places. They're not going to come up like normal, just poof, they're there, but it's a transition, and it's the way we can see them in our dimension. And I always thought that was very interesting, the way he wasn't talking about just Bigfoot. He was talking about aliens, Bigfoot, ghosts, all that stuff, how they're on a different dimension, in a dimensional reality than we are. And when they cross over, that's what we see. So that makes sense?
100%. You know, I'm not smart enough to, I guess, be able to talk further on some of the things when it comes to like physics and stuff like that. But yeah, I could definitely buy into something like that.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to, I mean, I'll be honest with you, the person would probably talk way over my head, but it would be interesting to hear that kind of viewpoint from somebody that's on the scientific side of it. But I would encourage you to look up some of his videotapes or his videos on YouTube. The guy goes deep, and
what is this guy? I'm sorry.
In such a way where you
let me make a note. What is this guy's name?
Yeah, Chuck Missler. I want to say his last name is Missler.
Okay.
And he worked closely with a Cornea House publishing, which was also, I think, like a seminary or a college. But I remember listening to a lot of his tapes, and I'm like, wow, this guy's talking Bible, but he's also talking about paranormal. And he had a lot of interesting views, and he could actually back it up scientifically, like, through his experience. Like I said, the guy used to design rockets for NASA.
Right.
And he was deeply involved in all that stuff. What a smart guy. But when I was doing my paranormal investigation, I've had, I'll give you a story. We went out one night, and there was a cemetery not far from the house, and it was across the street from this apartment complex. Now, as a paranormal investigator, you just go out and hit spots, right? You don't always get invited to somebody's house, but there's always a cemetery somewhere.
Right.
And so you're fishing. That's all you're doing. So we got this one place that was getting hotter, we'd go out, we'd get a little bit here, a little bit there. But we would see lights. The problem was it was like so close to town that it was at a car light. You know, we were trying to debunk everything. So we went out there with some night vision, the crude old, you know, the 8mm night vision. Those that looked like the cassette tapes.
Yep.
Yeah. And it was called Night Shot. You know, we went out there with that, but we thought we was hot stuff.
Oh yeah, you was at the time.
Cemetery. Yeah. And we went out there. We were probably out there, I want to say it was getting close to 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. It was when everything started to calm down, when everything would start to wake up, if that makes sense. Everything in the world would be calming down and getting quieter, and everything else would be coming up in the graveyard out there. And one night, we're out there, and we're walking around, asking questions, not getting squat for responses because we're listening to our recordings that we were, you know, doing. Well, I'm behind this gravestone, and I'm heart, you know, did you die and all that stuff. Like an idiot, I didn't read the tombstone, but I was like asking just weird questions, you know, because we're new, we don't know any better. We're just doing this, and looks like somebody puffed on a cigarette, blew the smoke past me. And I asked the people that was around me, I said, "What are y'all smoking?" Nope, I didn't think anything of it. It's weird how you encounter this stuff, but you don't think of it at the time. I've heard more than one person say the same thing, but you don't. You just, sometimes you're like, "Oh my gosh, that was it." That was weird. A puff of smoke went by me. So you always go back and review your stuff, and I used to have to review it 3 or 4 times. And I got this program where I could take and break down EVPs and clean them up and all that kind of stuff. And so on the audio on this thing, as the smoke puff, which ended up being a ball of, I would call it a ball of vapor. It was almost like a solid ball of vapor that looked like a basketball. It was that size. It goes into the tombstone and disappeared. And then I hear something, and I delved a little bit deeper, and I heard a male voice say, "Watch and see." And this was after I'm asking these questions. So I'm wondering if some of these lights and stuff, like you're saying, they're the Sasquatch, but they're in like 1 foot on each side of the dimension. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Like they're coming in, but you can see them the way the sick man can see the 3-dimensional person.
Right.
That's, you know, because when we would have orbs in the room or anything like that, there would be activity, but it was always that feeling. If you had an orb in the room and it was just dancing around or whatever, okay, you got to be careful. That might be a dust particle. That may be this, because those night shot cameras, man, they would illuminate everything.
Oh yeah.
So we had to be very careful and debunk as much as we could. But when you're in the room and all of a sudden it's like, all right, somebody's watching me. That's the feeling you get whenever the orbs would show up. You get that feeling. So it was more than one confirmation. It always seemed that way, at least with me. There was more than one confirmation. It's kind of like the thumping on the floor that I talked about. You know, you had multiple people in there. Another thing that I encountered with the night shot at a different cemetery one night is I actually had a flying rod. And that was a very active night. The flying rod was about 2.5 foot long, screamed across the frame, and I'm thinking, bug, you know.
Right.
But it's like cold in Michigan this time of year. When I slowed down the frame, it was a rod with wavy wings. And it was large.
Right.
And I remember that night was the biggest night. Have you ever encountered a flying rod of any kind on any film that you, during your Bigfoot expedition?
Never. No, but then again, I've never looked
Never?
for
Okay.
one, right? So I can't say that there's none in there.
Right.
I've never even paid it attention.
Okay, and that might be something you might have done like I did, because unfortunately in Florida, the bugs are, all over the place. And when you're out doing a hunt, but whenever you review a tape, the best you can, try to look for those rods.
Okay.
Because I've had incidents where we'd be out there doing that, and you will not see that rod until you actually look for it. Like you're saying, you never look for it. But they would be like the orbs. And I've seen those rods on other videos that other people have posted, like out west and stuff. And it coincided with a UFO or a haunting or something like that. So you may have things on your videos that you don't even know is there because you didn't know to look for them. But, just take a look at some of your past videos, and when you get a chance to, and just take a look. But
now, what do you think those?
I just wanted to call in and.
What do you think the rods are?
I think they're the same thing as the orbs.
Okay.
I think that is something coming in our dimension. That is what it appears to be at the time. Like the Tic Tac.
Yeah, like the stick man thing you were
The
talking
Tic
about.
Tacs might be us. It might not be. Yeah, the stick man thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing with a lot of your UFOs. All right. Now, what a lot of people might not realize is in the Bible, it describes a certain type of angel that is basically a vehicle, but yet it's an angel. When you hear somebody say angel, flip it with the word animal. Okay. If I tell you I saw an animal in the front yard, your first response is going to be, well, what kind of animal?
Right.
The word angel is a very blanketed statement. It could cover a demon. It could cover a spaceship. Okay. These people are seeing spaceships. There's actually a part of the Bible that says that God created these angels to be his vehicle. That's their job. They don't all wear halos and wings. That's a 15th century thing that came out. So when we're dealing with Bigfoot, when we're dealing with spiritual things, the Bible says you can entertain angels unaware. The thing is not that they're there, it's what is their intent. That's the dead giveaway. And I think Bigfoot does the same thing to us. Where, from what I've heard and all the stories and stuff I've been listening to, okay, if he can feel you out like a dog can, that last caller was talking about a dog, okay, same thing. You walk into the woods and you got this thing, I'm going to kill me a Bigfoot. Those cats know that the minute you walk in that wood. They know that. They know your intent is not good. And they're probably not going to come anywhere around you. If you walk into the woods and your intent is like, listen, I don't want to hurt nobody. I just want to come here and chill out and maybe communicate with somebody. I'm open-minded.
Right.
Here's the problem with that. Okay. When Jesus came down and he talked to the people, he could not come in his real form. Why? Because look what he did to Moses. He said, turn around, don't look at me. If he'd have come in his real form, nobody would have listened because they would have been all eating dirt and running. They'd have been scared to death. So he had to come down as a man. And I heard one preacher describe it one time as, you want to talk to little birds, you have to come to them as a little bird. So if you go out in the woods and they know you're going to panic and you're going to cause you a heart attack, they may only come as a light.
Right.
They may only show you just enough that you can handle. They might be that intuitive of you and the vibes you're putting off. I mean, it's not that hard to pick up vibes from each other. Piss your wife off one time and walk in the room. You'll pick up a vibe real quick.
Oh, yeah.
So,
hey, pick up a damn black eye, too, bro.
Yeah. These things might be reading us before we ever even walk in the woods and read them. And some of these encounters that we're having, you know, that might be them saying, "Hey, look, I can't show myself to this dude. It's gonna mess with him." Right. Now, those are the good ones. There might be ill intent because, you know, some of these, they got free will to a certain point.
That's my
you go in their woods and they might be the
that's my thing, you know, with like with some of the people gifting and leaving bait out and things like that. And I'm in that boat too, you know, not so much the gifting anymore, but the leaving bait out and stuff. You don't know what the hell you're messing with. You know what I mean? You could be, I guess that could be considered setting up an altar. A bait station could be an altar, and maybe you're like giving gifts to a demon or something. I don't know. It's wild. There's so much shit to this rabbit hole that
I know
it makes me use more caution, a little bit more brakes than I used to, you know?
Exactly. And you have to be grounded in yourself first.
Right.
That's one of the most paranormal investigators out there. If you're not grounded in yourself, then you need to be extra careful and if not do it at all. Mm-hmm. You have to be grounded. Not when I go into a house, I am not going to worship whatever's in that house. I know who my God is. And I walk into a house and there's bad stuff going on. Number one, I don't need to communicate with it. I already know. I mean, if you've got a rabid dog in somebody's yard, you're not going to go up and try to pet it. Why would you try to, you know, chill with a demon? Right. It ain't gonna happen. Nope. It's gonna bite you. And if there's a Bigfoot in the area and he's a rogue Bigfoot and he's just out to smash everything because he hates the world and he's been tortured and blah, blah, whatever, dude, that's a rabid dog.
Yep.
Why would you want to even mess with that thing? But if you've got, like, say, like I was listening to the show with you and Flat Rock was like one of the best shows I've ever heard.
I appreciate it, buddy.
So I love that show. And to me, the family that he was talking about that came through was just that. I think that what they do is they try to communicate with us, but they have to do it on a level that's not going to absolutely flip us out and go absolutely ape crap crazy. Mm-hmm. Because think of it, if they actually showed up in your house, standing in your living room, that's not going to be a good experience.
Not for me.
It's going to send you in and nobody. But they have, you know, they could probably do that. Well, why don't they? I think there's a restraint there. And I think when people are out in the woods and they're macho men and their buddies are around, it's like, yeah, let's go get. No, it's a different tale when you're in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And maybe they're like, okay, he's got good intentions. He wants us to show up, but he's not going to be able to handle it. Let's just give him some light.
Yep.
And only the person knows that inside themselves. So when you go out and do something like that, you got to be grounded a little bit because you'll end up falling into a pit. And the next thing you know, you're worshiping this thing and calling on it and asking it what job you need to put in for next and all kind of crazy. So
kind of like Chat
that's
GPT.
Exactly what I've seen happen with the paranormal. Exactly. Yeah.
What should I cook tonight?
That stuff happen to people on. Yeah. Yeah. But as far as the gifting stuff, all right. Think of Native Americans. When you had a gift, there's a trade there.
Always.
So when you would go up to a tribe, there's a sign for trade. Okay. So when you give something, if they're thinking along the old Native American ways, then they're now obligated to return that. Mm-hmm. So you're going to get something back, but it might not be something you want.
Amen, brother. I have been in that situation. Yeah, more than once, and it's always the same thing over and over again. It's extortion, I think, is what we
So
call it in the modern day.
Yeah, because what happens is if you set up a trade with somebody and they do it one time, you're like, what's this? We had a deal, dude.
Right.
And that's kind of the attitude you're going to get. And that might be the experience that you had. It's like you're going to go out there and set out some oranges and they're going to give you a dead squirrel. And when nothing else shows up, they're like, whoa, I thought we were doing business here. And that might be where they're coming from. Maybe if it was a gift, and if these things can mind speak, if they can understand English, I am gifting this to you out of my heart. I'm just gifting this to you to do whatever you wish to do with it. And maybe that would make a difference. That would be a good experiment, actually. Think about it, to do it as a gifting thing and explain to them, I am gifting this to you. But if they're the old ways, if they're the old native ways, they're still going to want to repay you somehow. Just be ready for it when they do. But they're going to repay you their way.
Right.
And something that means something to them. Yeah. But anyhow, I wanted to ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
So, and I don't want to give away I know you got an expedition coming up. And I know you got all that stuff coming up. So I don't want to give any secrets out that you might have out there. But can you text me a decent recorder that's I'm not going to have to sell one of my animals to get?
Okay, so what would a budget be?
We're talking about $100.
$100. Okay, $100. Cool. One right now. I'll tell you right now over the phone. I'm just going to look up and make sure this thing is still what the price I think it is. Okay. So they're right now, first of all, I would tell you Facebook Marketplace, right?
Okay.
But for $109 on Amazon right now, you can get a Zoom H1. Okay. These are great recorders. These are, for that price range, top of the line, best bet. I've got one. We placed one. We also have a Zoom. I think it's an H5. Let me make sure. I think it's an H5 recorder. It's kind of the bigger version of the H1. Yeah, and it's about $320. Okay. $350. It just depends on which model you want to go with. But Zoom makes good products. You can check, like I said, Facebook Marketplace. Sony makes some good little digital recorders. Olympus makes some good ones, and those will be cheaper than $100. The Zoom comes with these two really good microphones at the top, one that points left, one that points right. And
I think I've seen that one.
Yeah, dude, they're super good. It's in my opinion, that's the one that should kind of be the standard for everybody that wants to get into it. Sure, it's $100, $110, whatever. You can find used versions on Facebook Marketplace. You can go to a place called Lens Rentals, LensRentals.com, and type in the recorder you want, and then just toggle it from rent to buy. And they'll usually have a used one for sale, and you can then pick them up for like, $75, $80. And those people are not affiliated with this program. I'm not making any money to tell you this stuff. So you can believe that it is a good product, and it's products that I use and websites that I use. But with the $100 range, the Zoom H1, HN1, very, very good recorders. You couldn't go wrong there. You'll be happy with it.
I'm starting to get into the camp of audio is going to be the ticket. For the pure fact that so much out there can be faked but can AI fake frequency?
Mm-hmm.
If you digitally analyze a frequency, can AI fake that? And if it can't, there's our ticket. Because I've heard these guys, they go in there and analyze the frequency, and they're finding out these things make a frequency range that's inhuman, like the Ron Moorhead and stuff like that. Well, if AI cannot duplicate that, then, and if you can verify that, then there you go. Another thing I've been getting really interested in, and I texted you about this, was the Native American language that keeps popping up.
Yep.
That's something that's really interesting. And, you know, it's like the Native American language is starting to die. There are people out there that are trying to teach other people how to speak it. So it's not something that is prevalent at all. So people are hearing these languages and they're like, it's an alien language. Well, yeah, it was an alien language to the Japanese in World War II, too. That's why we use the windtalkers. So that's another thing. But I think audio is probably the way to go. But I appreciate you telling me about that because, brother, I'm probably coming up on another government shutdown and my money's going to be gone.
Yeah. Well,
so
hopefully not, bud.
Careful.
Hopefully not. Hopefully they'll get their shit together, which, and that's a fucking fat chance in hell. But, you know, the government never stays shut down too long because that's how they get paid. And them greedy motherfuckers are only there to get paid. Every last one of them.
They can get their shit. They can get their shit together. The problem is it's always my shit.
It's never theirs.
They don't have their own shit. They got to play games with my shit.
Yep. Well, brother,
I'm going to let you off here. I don't want to bucket mouth too much. So.
Oh, you good, man. I appreciate the call. And yeah, you know, look that up as the AI frequency thing. They can't clone a frequency, but if AI can't do it right now, you give it a year. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So,
yep.
Well, brother, have a good night, man. And I will talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Good show tonight too.
I appreciate you, buddy.
The dude you had on with the dog man and stuff, that was awesome too. Those recordings.
Yeah.
That last podcast you had with the guy with the recordings, dude, you're getting better and better. The shows are getting better and better. So
I'm glad you're enjoying them. I really jumped into this not knowing what the fuck I was doing. I had some people complain that you shouldn't have cut him off because I wasn't lost. Well, you know what? I was lost in the damn conversation. So I had to ask the guy where we were at, you know, but I'm trying to get better at this stuff. And it will, you know, it's just like anything else. The more you do it, the better you'll get, you know. And hell, we're going to be here, so we're going to get better.
Well, just remember, homemade biscuits are always better.
Yes, sir, brother. Well, hey, man.
Don't worry about all that stuff. Appreciate you.
Yeah, have a good night, dude.
You too.
All right, bye. All right, guys. Let's do a proper check-in since this is a Super Bowl call-in show, right? Y'all don't give a fuck about football, but it is 12:27 in the fourth quarter, 19-7. The Seahawks are beating the Patriots. If anyone gave a shit, I do not, but I'm just doing that for you, right? We do have a guy I'm about to call. He called in, but could not get through because I was on the phone. So I am going to call him back. Where are we at now? Let's see here. I gotta bring his number up. Okay. He's got some pretty interesting stories. Before I call him, memberships are open. If anybody wants to join the Bigfoot Underground membership program, you're going to get a lot of stuff. There's more stuff than I actually post on there. So I make a lot of videos and I make movies and all kinds of stuff. Not always Bigfoot related, but it's stuff I do and I'll share it with you. and y'all can give me some honest input on what y'all think. So all kinds of stuff coming with that. But the Cave Dweller, you get 20% off merch, 25 off of expeditions, an annual members only expedition, member only live streams, custom emojis, custom badges, and shout outs on the stuff, on all the programs. So here we go. I'm going to call this guy back. Let's see here. Is this Quinn?
Yeah. Hi, Stacy. How are you?
I'm doing all right, brother. How about yourself?
Oh, not too bad. I'm enjoying your show. It's the first time I ever tuned into it. My friend Vern Pumphrey is the gentleman that sent you a Cash App or something a little ago. He's the one that turned me onto your show. So he said, give him a call. And if you feel up to it, tell him some of your encounters. So here I am.
Yeah, brother. I got your email. Sorry I couldn't get your call when you did.
That's not a problem.
I don't really have like a please hold on this line kind of thing set up yet.
That's fine. That's no problem at all. I rather, I try and stay away from, the quote unquote corporate, Bigfoot channels and shows, that type of thing. So,
well, I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you're here, brother. You told me on the message you left that you had 2 Sasquatch encounters and 1 Dogman encounter.
That's correct. I do.
And I can speak for everybody here. We want to hear it. So,
okay. Well, I'm a little bit of a lengthy talker because there's a lot of detail, so it's going to take a little time, but I think it'll be worth it to you. So,
okay.
If you want me to go, I'll just go in chronological order if that's okay with you.
Yeah, I got about 20 minutes left on the show. If we can't get through all of them, I can call you back next week as well.
I'll tell you what, let's that will not happen. Let me just give you the one, then I'll go. Let me go through the Sasquatch encounter that was violent, and then next week you can call me and I'll give you the other 2. Is that okay?
That sounds effing perfect, brother. So yeah, let's hear about this violent Sasquatch encounter.
Okay, well, I'm from northeastern Pennsylvania. I'm currently 55 years old. I was born in 1970. There is if you know anything about Pennsylvania, Vern told me, I guess you're down in Florida someplace. Is that correct?
Yeah, but I've spent some time up there.
Okay. So if you know, in I live in what's called the Lehigh Valley, east and Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and north of us is the Poconos. And across the northern tier, the northern counties of Pennsylvania, people misunderstand our state a little bit. We're very mountainous, lots of rivers, valleys, lots of forests, lots of lakes, and between Pittsburgh and Philly, those are the only 2 real big urban islands in the state.
Right.
So the whole northern tiers are God's country. They border New York State. About in the middle is Bradford County. My couple of my great uncles post World War II. The 2 of them got together with 3 of their friends, and they bought about 400 acres and turned it in bordering state game land to the north and other hunting associations to each side. So the way that they're zoned, it can never be developed. Mm-hmm. They bought those back after the war, and they went in with 3 other friends. And as people got old and died off, or were too old to take care of it, got passed down. So my mom's brother is currently owns 1/5 of the hunting association, and it is a beautiful piece of land. It's relatively, it's not too steep, but it is all mountainside. It gets steeper the further you go up. So at any rate, there are skidder trails through the whole place. They logged out all the hardwood years ago. So the cabin isn't really a cabin, so to speak. The original cabin they tore down. It's big cinder block Viking longhouse, I like to call it. It's huge because there's a lot of guys that belong to the association. So, but it's at the bottom where the creek is. You can fish and so on and so forth. When you go deer season, rifle season for buck starts the Monday after Thanksgiving in our state. So my uncle has two tree stands. One is a half a mile north and a half a mile uh, west, and it's at the end of a skidder trail, and he has another one that's all the way up top of the mountain. So he put me at this. So I had to hike up half a mile north, half a mile to the west, and we didn't have. This was in 1991. Last year I hunted. Um, we were there. There was no snow on the ground, but it was very cold and very, very windy. So the hike was in the dark. So I was up at it took me about an hour to get there, and so I was up in the tree stand, for daybreak. And I'm sure most states are like you can't shoot anything until sun's up. So long story short, I was up in the tree stand, and it's pretty high. On the trail side, it's not. It's about maybe 20 foot up, and on the opposite side that faces down the mountain, it's like 50 feet because it drops off there. And it's right in the crotch of like a white birch. It has like 3 offshoots, if you know what I mean. So you still with me, Stacy?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I didn't lose you.
No, you good.
So anyway, I climbed up there, and I pulled my gun up, and it was, I gotta be honest with you, it was so ungodly windy. The stand was moving around. I thought I was on a damn amusement ride. So I actually lashed myself to one of the offshoots because I thought I was going to get thrown out of it. That's how bad it was moving around. So I was like, the hell with this. I'm not going to die falling out of a tree stand. And unfortunately, there are a handful of deaths usually every hunting season because of that exact factor. When you're up in the northern Pennsylvania mountains and it's windy and so, I mean, you can get thrown out of your stand because they do rock around.
Right.
So I climbed down and I sat down on a rock and I waited until the sun to come up. Then I walked into virgin forest about 100 yards to the northeast, near where I saw the posted signs near where the border of the other association was at. Now, I mean, I'm talking rhododendron and alders and mountain laurel that are 10, 12 feet tall. And the deer have tunnels, worn through all the underbrush. And, I had the bushwhack. I even had a sugarcane knife from down in Jamaica that my uncle gave me to bushwhack my way through. We have those, the Velcro, the guy that invented Velcro, these little briar things stick to you. We have them all over up here. And that's how we got the idea to make Velcro from these stupid things because they stick to anything and you can never get them off.
Right.
So I decided I hiked in and I saw there was I think it was an oak or a maple tree, but it's almost equal deciduous and conifer. I sat down with my back to it because it was like if you picture the capital letter Y, the tree was in the middle of the top of the letter. Each prong to my left and to my right, as I faced to the bottom of the letter Y, there were deer trails. So, and they were about 20 to 30 feet off of both sides, about the same. And I'm like, this will be great. I had buck lure with me, which when I sat down, I kicked it with my boot and I spilled it all over both my boots. So I was stinking to high heaven, and it was very, very windy. If you're familiar with our woods, like you said, you were up here already. If there's no snow on the ground, all the the maple and the oak leaves, they rustle around. If you step on them, they sound like you're walking on potato chips.
Yeah.
And if you step on a branch, if you step on deadfall and you break a branch and it was like 20 degrees, very windy, gusting even higher. And, that sounds like an explosion almost if it depends how thick the branch is. So I was looking down the mountain because I could see over top the Virgin Forest area I was in, way down the mountain, and I was looking down that way, and I saw a buck and probably about eight or nine doe coming up my direction. So I'm like, okay, I got to wait this out to see if they're actually going to get on these two trails. They were headed toward me, but God only, there were so many. The place looked like a interstate highway of deer trails up there. So about half an hour later, a doe came out to my left. Another doe came out. She walked past me, like I said, roughly 10, 20, 30 feet to my left side. She walked past me. Another doe walked past me. The third doe came out and stopped almost even with me, but just a hair past me, and started snorting and scraping the ground and everything like that. And I'm like, shit, she got my scent. Well, she turned around and the other doe turned around and started barreling down the, I don't know how you are with profanity. I try not to swear too much.
Go for it.
What's that?
Go for it, brother.
So they were barrel-assing down the mountain, hell bent for leather, right? So I had my Savage 30-06. I'm like, damn. My uncle said, bring both my rifles. I don't only need my 30-06. I had 200 grain rounded soft points because for the brush. I didn't want to bring my 225, pointed bullets, because the higher velocity wouldn't have been good for all that heavy brush. So, but these were terrible long range bullets, and I put the scope up probably 4 feet above his antlers when he cleared everything. I ripped the shot off and it hit the dirt right behind him. So I was really upset with myself.
Mm-hmm.
Now this was in 1991, no cell phones. We had two-way radios, and the rules of the hunting association, you had to stay on, you had to keep the radio on an open channel so everybody knew where everyone was at. And if there was an accident or something like that, blah, blah, blah. We also had they had to register just within the association, our gun, ammo count, cover their ass all the way around. So my uncle keys the mic and he says, "What happened? Did you get him?" And I said, "No, I missed him. They ran down the mountain." So I'm sitting there, and I don't know what made me think this, Stacy, but I'm sitting there disgusted with myself. Then I'm left-handed, mind you, so I got my gun cradled, my rifle cradled in the crook of my left arm, and I was just like, what the? I don't understand why two doe went by me, and the third one, why she stopped. What made her catch? Why did she catch my scent and the other two didn't? I don't know if I was upwind or downwind, to be honest with you. Been asked that question before, but the wind was blowing in so many different directions. I don't remember, honestly. So
right.
I was 20, like I said, it was 91. I was 21 at the time. So I'm like, I said, all three of those deer were looking. It dawned on me that they were looking past me, like over my left shoulder, not at me. And I'm like, I thought, now there's 25 guys max the first day, any day of hunting. And I was a rookie up there. So it wouldn't have been beyond these guys to prank me and screw up my first hunt.
Right.
That type of thing. So I thought I was going to turn around and I was going to see my uncle there, or his buddy or something like that. I didn't know what to expect. My uncle just said, "Listen, they're gonna prank you your first day out. Just roll with it, blah blah blah." So I thought that's what happened. So as I turned my head around the tree, I didn't realize what I was looking at first, but it was a little stand of conifers and deciduous trees, mostly conifers, roughly probably, I would say, a foot in diameter. The trunks were about a foot in diameter. There's hemlocks up there, blue spruce, the run of the mill stuff. And I'm like, I kind of was puzzled. I'm like, that's a leg. And I was looking at this dark brown with like a silvery sheen. The sun was coming up finally, and it was coming up behind the stand of trees there. And I was able to see somewhat of a shadow of an outline. And I'm like, the leg. And I said, it's really hairy and it's huge. And I was looking up and down. I saw its foot. Its foot was enormous. His hand was hanging down below and he had to be standing with his left side facing me. He wasn't front to me, back to me. He was left side to me. And just everything, I was just like, I didn't realize what I was seeing at first. And I'm like, son of a bitch. Because I grew up watching, Leonard Nimoy in Search of Sasquatch. You've probably seen those shows.
Oh,
already,
yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
In search of, the 70s there was a huge Bigfoot craze, especially after the Patterson Gimlin film. I heard you talking about that with a gentleman earlier, and so forth. So I was like all into all that stuff when I was younger. Now I was currently enrolled at Temple University in pre-med biology, and I wasn't really, following up on that stuff too much anymore at this present time in my life. But I hunted my whole life ever since I was a real young kid, and I didn't want to give that up. So anyway, back to what I was saying. There was like a little silvery sheen to the hair too, when it was caught in the sunlight just right.
Okay.
And I could see the outline of the creature, and he was, my judgment, 10 to 12 feet tall. He was huge.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I mean, this thing was huge. And I worked on a cattle farm, and I hunted all my life, so I'm kind of pretty good with judging size of the things up against other things like trees and so forth. So when I turned my head around and I was able to look at the side of this creature. The best way I could describe it is he was working his way up into like a bloodlust. He started shaking the tree, growling very, very deeply and very violently. Almost like what you would expect a dog to do before he takes a big bite out of you. And he was shaking the tree faster, growling more aggressively, and faster by the second. And I was like, holy shit! This is a Sasquatch. I know it's a Sasquatch. It dawned on me it had to be a Bigfoot. What else could it be?
Right.
It had hand. I saw a hand. I saw a leg. Because I've been asked, it's got to be this big black bear that lives up there that nobody's killed. He's 700 pounds. I said, no, this thing is bipedal. I saw the side of its leg, its hand, and it was shaking the tree. I thought it was actually going to rip the tree out of the ground. That's how violently it was shaking this tree. So I was like, I thought to myself, I was like in awe. I was like, I think it's going to attack me. Because how it doesn't take too much to make you feel like your life is in jeopardy when something that big is growling at you and shaking a tree and acting violent. So I still have it. I have a Ruger 44 Ruger Red Hawk stainless steel 44 Magnum that I used to keep under my left arm as a sidearm, and I had 350 grain overloads from buffalo boar, and I put that on. I always wore that as a sidearm. I figured in case something stupid happened, I had a nice powerful handgun. Never thinking that this was, we're talking about more like human things.
Right.
Somebody getting stupid with me, drunk hunters trying to tell me I'm on their land, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I reached around under my left arm with my right hand, and I pulled it out of the holster, and I tried to make my movements extremely slow, but very obvious. I didn't move fast, but I wanted him to see that. I wanted everything to be in view of so he could see me. So he didn't get to, think that I was, I didn't want him to think I was going to do something that made him, attack or charge me any sooner than he was going to. Or maybe I didn't know if this was just a show of force, or honestly, Stacy, I felt in my heart, and based on how he was acting, I think this thing was going to take my head off. So got to a point where he actually did start charging me. He emerged about halfway out of behind the tree. He started coming, and he was only about 20 feet behind me, just so you have a frame of reference. He wasn't far, 20 maybe 30 feet tops.
Okay.
So he started coming out, charging me, coming out of the trees, and I ripped off all 6 shots, not at him, but next to him. It would have been in his left side, just to warn him, because I figured if he wanted me dead, first of all, I didn't know how long he was there. I had no clue he was there. He could have killed me before I even knew he was there. He might have been sleeping there. I woke him up. I might have ruined his hunt, or he feels I screwed him out of a free meal because he was going to take the deer I shot. Whatever the situation was, I didn't know he was even there. So I gave him I don't know what made me not shoot at him, because I felt a life and death threat, but I shot next to him and it scared him off. So I turned around. He was there 1 second, next second he wasn't there. I turned around and took a knee, reloaded it, because at the time, I know I'm going to date myself, but if you remember what speed loaders are for revolvers, I quick loaded another 6 rounds and, took the safety off of my 30-06 and just took a knee and kind of took inventory of what was going on. I couldn't hear a thing. It was so windy. It was all brush and blowing, trees creaking, the leaves skittering around. I did hear eventually what sounded like just a tank running through the deadfall. So now the trail was not that wide, and a lot of the brush was overhanging it because they never maintenance it or anything like that. Now, granted, it was winter, all the leaves were off of things, but there was also evergreen type of stuff too that I couldn't see through.
Right.
So I figured I'd be better off keeping my 44 Magnum in my hand than trying to wheel around with a long gun, catching it on something or whatever. So I ran, and I would stop to see if I could hear him. I could hear a lot of noise, and about halfway, this is a half a mile to the north-south, so I'm running to the east right now, and I started hearing and feeling he was throwing small rocks and small branches. He was chucking stuff at me. It only could have been him, because nobody else was up at this part of the mountain that I was on at this current time. I got hit with some small rocks and some branches, but he did throw some larger pieces that actually didn't hit me. I'd like to think that he wasn't trying to kill me, but I got to the intersection of the north-south trail. Once I got there, I got down, took a knee, and just listened to see if I could. And the destruction rolling through the forest was getting fainter and fainter and fainter. So also, one thing I forgot to tell you is when I started, after I was done shooting, everybody and his brother was keying the radio. And my uncle was like, "Oh, did you get it? Did you miss it? What's going on? What's all that shooting?" Blah, blah, blah. Everybody, a million people were keying the radio to ask me what the hell was going on. And I said, "No, I can't talk right now. I'll see you guys back out of the cabin." So I shut the radio off because I figured if anything, it's going to help him pinpoint where I'm at more than help me. So I got to that second trail and I ran down. Now I was no runner. I was actually ranked collegiate power lifter. I was 240 pounds and 5'8" of muscle, and I was not a good runner.
Right.
So I was a slow runner, and I was way out of breath by the time I got down to the cabin. Pardon me. The older guys, the guys that were in their 70s, 80s, even older than that, used to come up to the cabin during deer season, the hunting seasons, and, do the cleaning, the cooking, and all that stuff, and just sit around talking. And a typical Pennsylvania deer camp is what this was. And I burst through the door, and I was very angry, very agitated, and wringing wet with sweat, freezing my ass off because it was so cold out. And I started wigging out on these guys. I'm like, what in the hell? I'm like, why didn't you guys warn people of what's on this mountain? And, I got all these shit-eating grins from these guys. There was like 5 or 6 of them. Well, what are you talking about? We don't even know what you're talking. I said, don't sit there and lie to me that you don't know what's going on. You've been here for 40 years. You've been here 50 years. You're one of the original guys. Don't tell me you don't know what's on this mountain. And finally, I'll be honest with you, Stacy, I got so pissed off because they sat there and they kept denying it. I aimed my rifle right at I aimed my 44 Magnum right at the president of the association, and I said, "You better come clean right now, or you're going to eat a bullet." And he's like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa," and I said, "Don't whoa, 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 mean nothing. There was a goddamn Sasquatch up there that just almost damn near took my head off."
Right.
He tried to kill me. And I told him where I saw him, where I was, where I saw him, and, his coloration and this, that, and the other thing. And I said, so you better start talking. And I don't want to see any more of these stupid grins and this, that, and the other thing. I almost lost my life. And these guys are trying to laugh it off.
Well, did they tell you anything?
He goes, calm down, put the gun down. And I'm like, I said, you better come clean, or I'm serious. I'm not going to back off what I said. So he said, and I said, so what the hell's going on? How long has he been up there? So they told me that he's been up there forever. He was an older Sasquatch as far as they knew. There was never ever like youthful ones or adolescent ones. There was only this big male. He never hurt anybody. Never hurt anybody. He scared the crap out of some people, but he never hurt anyone. So they didn't want the membership to drop off because they wouldn't have had any revenue to pay for the club.
Right.
As it went on. Now, granted, the land was paid for, but you have maintenance, food, you have all that taxes. So they're like, well, I said, well, why don't you tell everybody? You guys are the elder statesmen here. If you tell everybody there's a Sasquatch up there, they'll believe you guys. There might be a chuckle at first, but then it's, no, we're serious. And, I said, this thing almost killed me today. And I told them what happened. And I said, you guys better do something. I'm going to tell you something. I shot at that thing. I ripped off 644 Magnum shots at that thing. I said, I think he's probably mightily pissed right about now that somebody shot at him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's probably going to, if he gets a hold of somebody now, he's probably going to kill someone. I said, but I can't worry about that. He almost killed me. I had to defend myself.
Yeah.
you know, and they're like, well, why didn't you just put him center mass? And I said, I don't know something clicked in a millisecond that said in my mind, don't shoot him. And I just popped him off right next to him, this guy. Because I figured if he wanted me dead, he had to drop on me way before the standoff. And you know, they said, well, you should have just killed him then if you felt that threatened. And I'm like, well, you know, I said, you guys are all a bunch of assholes. I said, I'm getting the fuck out of here. So by that time, my uncle stormed in because he was trying to reach me. He thought I had an accident or somebody shot me by accident. He thought I was dead. So, because he couldn't reach me on the radio. He ran through the bush down to where I was in the stand, in his lower stand, and it came down there. And, you know, he comes through, you know, very upset and angry that I couldn't reach me. And I said, you know, these assholes, I said, I just had a Bigfoot almost take my head off up there. And he's like, what? Because he doesn't believe in Sasquatch. I said, Uncle Ray, I don't give a shit if you believe me or not. You see how mad I am? You see how I'm shaking like a leaf? And I'm not, I said, believe me, I'm not lying to you. He goes, nephew, he goes, if you tell me, he goes, you're the only person in the world I would believe that you are not, you're telling the complete truth that you saw a Sasquatch. Because I was never, I would never lied as a kid. I never stretched the truth. I was always 100% honest and very accurate with my honesty. And he said, I believe you. And I said, ask these guys. Ask them, go ahead. I pointed a gun at this guy because he was laughing at me.
Right.
So he told him, he said, Ray, he's telling the truth. There's a Sasquatch, blah, blah, blah. So my uncle sat down and he looked like he was ready to pass out or puke, or he couldn't believe that there was one up there because he said, you know, I saw and heard some strange shit over the years. I just dismissed it. You know, and he said, I thought I saw something real big shadow come up and mess around with the bottom of my tree stand when I was in it, but I thought I was seeing things, you know, shadows or something. So, you know, this situation was the last time I ever went hunting. And I never dealt with this whole thing with the PTSD until I was in a field appraiser for an insurance company, and I was rear-ended very hard, and I had to have a triple level spinal fracture, that had a triple back fusion, and I had to have 3 surgeries. So I was out of work for a couple of years, and then the company let me go because I couldn't return to that job because of how serious my injuries were.
Right.
And they still are. I had to go on disability. Nobody would hire me after that with those injuries. So,
well, that's a hell of a story, man.
I started listening to YouTube and I saw that, you know, hey, there's a lot of ordinary, very honest people talking about this. And I said, you know, what's my goal here? My goal here isn't to brag. I could give a shit about that. My goal here isn't to exaggerate or embellish. I don't do those type of things. And I'll be honest with you, Stacy, I could give not one shit if somebody doesn't believe me. That's not what I'm here for. I'm not here to make you believe me or twist your arm.
Right.
I want to give, I'm coming forward to tell what I went through, regardless of what other people think about me, which I don't give a shit. I want it to, if it inspires somebody who's not dealing with PTSD or whatever they're going through because they're afraid to talk about their encounter and get it off their chest. Hey, Mike is an honest, hardworking guy just like me. He was brave enough to tell his story. You know, I need help too. And that's how this all happened. My son came up behind me with, my wife's a mental health therapist, and she uses different things when she's treating children. One of them is a piece of pipe that looks like a slinky, that it's plastic and it compresses and it opens up like an accordion. My son snuck up behind me one night, and he stuck it up behind my head and he growled into it. Stacy, I don't know what triggered it, but it must have sounded just like that Sasquatch growl. Because, I mean, I have a carrier's for a license and everything. Pennsylvania is very lenient. The gun laws here.
Right.
I literally leaped out of my chair over the corner of the table of my dining room table I was sitting at, popped back up with my Beretta in my hand, and in my home. And I'm saying to my son, where, I'm like, where is it, Angela? Where is it? I had such a flashback. And, he's like, Dad, calm down. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that, So I never told my wife and kids about this, never told another soul. And that's when I was like, that's it. I have to come clean. So I ended up going to see a therapist for about 3 to 4 months. To help me work through the PTSD, because I was like, I did that completely involuntarily. Leaped out of my chair, went to the ground, came up with my handgun in my hand. I didn't think about those movements at all. It was all strictly, muscle memory.
Well, brother, I am glad
I can't do this.
I'm glad that you shared your story with us tonight. That is a wild ass encounter. And I hate to hear that it affected you like that, but glad you did get some help for it. We're about 16 minutes over time. So
I'm sorry, man.
No, hey, you're good, brother.
I'm sorry about that.
You're good, bro. Everybody here loves it. So I will call you. I'll text you during the week, and just make sure we're still on for Sunday. And I'd love to hear your dog man and your other Bigfoot encounter.
Absolutely. And if for some reason you need to kind of cue it up and tell me where we left off, I can, so the people can hear the whole story, because I think it's important that they hear about, me going to therapy and all that too. So
okay. Well, good deal, buddy. Well,
thank you, sir. I appreciate you giving me the time and the attention to listen to that. Because every time I talk about it, it helps me deal with it better.
I bet. Well, hey, like I said, dude, the pleasure's all mine. I really appreciate you, reaching out and telling your story. That's why I did this call-in show. So people call, and every Sunday I get on here. I've only had one person I had planned to call back before. Most always, I'm just hoping people call in, and tonight you did, and I really appreciate it, brother.
Well, it's been my pleasure, and like I said, I'm very thankful to you, and a bunch of people in the chat said, "Hey, call in and tell your story." And like I said, I don't do this for me. That's the reason why Quinn's not my real name, and I don't go into too many super specifics as far as where I live, because it's too specific, and there would be people that might listen to the podcast that will know it's me.
Right.
And because of my dad's involvement and the other story and where I live, because I grew up in what's called the Slate Belt in Pennsylvania, and it's not a very big area.
Right.
But I appreciate it, and I would be more than happy to. I'm sure you and maybe other people in the podcast might have some questions. It would be my pleasure to, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you have or anybody else does as well.
Yeah, dude. Next weekend we'll have more time. So we'll definitely get into that, because we got some people already saying they really want to hear the dog man one. So
sure.
Like I said,
what time do you get started on Sunday night, if you don't mind? I'm sorry if you don't mind.
At 8 p.m. So I'll probably call you around 8:30. The first 30 minutes, I kind of ramble about my goings on, the week episodes and new stuff on the channel and stuff like that. So it'll probably be around 8:30 when I call you, but I'll talk to you before then.
Okay, yeah. If you don't, either that'd be great and stuff like that. And I don't know if you know Bear at all, but he was one of the first people I spoke to that really encouraged me to come out and tell this, and I appreciate your time as well. Anybody who allows me to to air this out and try and help other people to have the courage to tell what happened to them. That makes me feel good. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Well, right on, brother. Well, till I talk to you, man, you take care of yourself.
You too. Have a good night.
All right, you too, buddy. Well, people, what a Super Bowl show we have had tonight. We went into overtime. We're 19 minutes into overtime on this show. We've got 149 in the Super Bowl, and it looks like Seahawks are going to pull it away. It's 29-13. But nobody here cares about that. But I'm just telling you in case you do. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in, joining the chats, all that. Next week, we'll finish talking to Quinn. We'll take some other calls, and, I can't wait to see you all again. So